Welcome, everyone. You're welcome to the Progressive Mind Show. My name is Sena, aka Linko. Today is October 14, 2020. We are glad to be coming your way again. This evening, we are talking about the Diaspora Convo. Great people are here to help us with this dialogue, and I'm sure you're ready for us as well. Before we do get into the thick of things, let's go ahead, take a short break. When we come back, we shall be ready. This is the Progressive Mind Show. Remember to start calling your friends and loved ones to tune in right now. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. We shall be right back. Welcome again. We are glad to be coming your way, people of the world. This is the Progressive Mind Show, where we build our community by engaging you and I in pertinent dialogue. We are blessed to be coming through this device to your homes, your locations, wherever you are. The show is live on Facebook, Progressive Minds. Also on YouTube is the Progressive Mind Show. We are glad to be carried on MyStar Radio out there in Washington, D.C. Very excited moment for the Progressive Minds, in addition to a lot that is going to be coming, so stay tuned. MyStar Radio is a Pan-African radio for the discerning listener. You can get MyStar Radio 24/7 online. 24/7 online, MyStar Radio, a Pan-African radio station, a Pan-African radio station for the discerning listener. We would want to talk to Captain Mike right after him. The people that are going to be, or the community folks that are going to be helping engage us in this diaspora conversation, they're ready, and I hope you are too. Stay tuned as we take the Captain Mike segment. Looks like we may be having a little technical issues. We shall try it. If it works, if it doesn't, we would have to continue as usual. Captain Mike, can you hear us? Okay, looks like there's going to be a slight glitch with Captain Mike. But, well, if that's going to be the case, since we have a loaded house, we shall go straight to introducing our guest. After that, we would try and get to the thick of things. Hopefully, Captain Mike can come on then so we can take his judgment. If not, let's try and talk to our guest this evening. DEIDRA Coleman. DEIDRA Coleman is a researcher at Loyola University. DEIDRA, you're welcome to the Progressive Mind Show. And once we're done with the short intro, I would like you all to tell us a little bit about yourself. Next to DEIDRA, we have my own brother, my boss. Some years ago, he's still my boss. KOFI JACQUAYE. KOFI JACQUAYE is CEO of I have to look at the name, is BLUSIMBA Incorporation. KOFI JACQUAYE, you're welcome to the Progressive Show. Great. And then NATALYA. NATALYA is the station manager at KOFFE radio station out there in Georgia. NATALYA, you're welcome to the show.
Good night, y'all.
Excellent. And then we have my brother SAHEED.O. ADEEYELE. SAHEED is the General Secretary of the Atlanta chapter, General Secretary for Nigerian in Diaspora Organization, the Atlanta chapter. SAHEED, you are also welcome to the Progressive Mind Show.
Thanks, brother. A pleasure to be here. Good to meet you all.
Great, great. We are glad to be coming your way. As I stated, we're live right now on Progressive Minds. Please share the feed once you come on so your friends and our community folks can all partake in this. You can also catch us on YouTube. It's the Progressive Mind Show. Right now, live on MyStar Radio out there in Washington. MyStar Radio is a Pan-African radio station for the discerning listener. We will take this short break. When we come back, we would try and get to things. Stay tuned. Welcome again, everyone. Today's verse of the day, we're going to go straight to Proverbs chapter 11, verses 10. It says, when the righteous prosper, the city rejoices. When the weak perish, there are shouts of joy. So take that into your pocket, ponder over it, and be good to one another. Right now, though, let's go to my panel members. We know we've done the introduction, but I still want to have a moment. I still want you all to tell us a little bit about yourselves, so our guests, so our audience can get to know you a little bit more. Let's start with DEIDRA. DEIDRA, I know you are with a researcher at Loyola University, but tell us a little bit, maybe in a few seconds, who DEIDRA COLEMAN represents. What you represent.
Sure. Thank you, Steve. I'm excited to be a part of this conversation, and I have a background in education. I've worked as a teacher in CPS and also abroad. I also do have a background as a researcher. During my graduate studies at Loyola, I did research with the Center for the Human Rights of Children, and I also worked with the University of Chicago on projects related to social and emotional interventions, children's rights, and also social justice. And more recently, I began my work as a program manager for District 65 schools, and I'm also a songwriter.
Oh, you're a songwriter. Thank you so much for that brief introduction. My brother SAHEED.
Yeah, again, good evening, everyone, and thanks for having me. I'm SAHEED-O by name, Nigerian by birth, of course, United States by nationality. Basically, I work with my local county here, which is Cobb County, and I also belong to the Nigerian Diaspora organization, which is the only, registered organization representing diasporas, on behalf of the Nigerian citizen. My background, of course, from college is about chemistry, but I've always been more of an entrepreneur. So I own my own entertainment company, which I'm basically building. And besides that, basically a businessman as well, just all about the trade. Thank you.
Thank you so much. KOFI JACQUAYE.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me on the show, Sena. My name is KOFI JACQUAYE, like he just said loudly. I'm sure everybody can hear my name. Yes, he knows my name. Yes, but I'm the CEO of BLUSIMBA. BLUSIMBA is a software development company. We're relatively new, but before I started BLUSIMBA, I worked in television and radio production for almost 15 years. BLUSIMBA is a software company that's focused on one small area. It's the small business community. We develop software products for the small business community. Over the years, what we've done is we've brought a lot of software together on one platform. So if you go on there, you'll be able to register your business, market it, grow it, do your accounting, and everything else on platform, one centralized billing. That's basically what we do now.
That's great. Thanks for a brief introduction. NATALYA, a little bit about who you are and what you represent.
Sure. My name is NATALYA Stephenson, and I am from Jamaica, and I actually live in Atlanta, Georgia. I wear multiple hats. I am actually an integration analyst with a company called Clearwave, which is a health IT company. I've also done work with the Center for Disease Control in meaningful use, and also a lot of research there. Part-time, I also work with a radio station called KOFFE Radio. Please download our app and just check us out.
Great. Thank you so much for a great introduction. Friends, the conversation, I think we have Captain Mike here. My brother, looks like we may have to do this another time. We have got into, but okay, can you hear us now?
I think I got you. I think I'm in the right part of the house.
Okay, if you do, you know what? You might have to be extremely quick for us today since we've gone past our time. So if you can just give us briefly what you have in terms of your bit of weather, sports, and health, that would help. You looks like you're wearing a jersey that looks like the Black Stars of Ghana. I don't know if that's what it is.
The Senegalese national team.
Senegalese national team. Okay, so you're just gonna do me like that? I thought you should be representing Ghana, bro. I work with we're friends. All right, go ahead, bro.
All right, right now we have 76 degrees in Midway. Clouds are starting to come in, so you might see a few showers later tonight. It's definitely going to cool off. So as the graphics department here, we spend a lot of money on our graphics. It's going to be some gusty winds. You know that. Your hat's going to blow off. Hold on. Tomorrow, it's going to higher and be in mid-60s, so we're going to be a little cooler this week. And going into Saturday, still windy out of the south. Sunday, where are we there? We have a cold front moving in. It's definitely going to cool off. 45 degrees is our high. And the rest of the week, we're going to be in the mid-50s, lows in the 40s, and chance of rain each day. So next week, not going to be too great. In sports, not too much going on now. With the Fire is going to be at Minnesota United tonight. And we had a few friendlies out there. Soccer. Niger defeated Sierra Leone 1-0. Morocco and Congo 1-1. Nigeria, Tunisia 1-1. Mexico and Algeria 2-2 tie. And Panama defeated Costa Rica 1-0. And in our discussion about our health and fitness, we're going to talk about the difference between a cold and a flu. Which one do you have? Well, both are caused by viruses. And as Ms. Stevenson would know, she worked for the CDC. This information comes from CDC.gov. A cold symptoms are usually milder. Now, what happens with a cold? The onset is gradual. With the flu, it's pretty abrupt. Your fever, you don't have to get too many fevers with a cold. You do with the flu. As far as body aches, slight body aches with a cold, usual body aches with the flu. Chills, not too common with a cold. You do get them with the flu. Fatigue and weakness, you're going to get that with the flu. Sneezing, more common with the cold. Chest discomfort and stuffy nose, that's more common with your flu symptoms. A sore throat is common with colds, not too common with the flu, but bad headaches, that's usually a flu symptom and not a cold symptom. So put it all together. Flu symptoms, of course, are going to be a little bit more difficult to deal with, but always, always, always check with your healthcare professional. And next week, we'll talk about the differences between the common flu and the COVID, what to look for between the two, and when you should freak out and go to see a doctor, and when you think you might be okay with just the flu. So with that, Sina, we're going back to you, man.
Thank you. Thank you, my brother. And we are glad to be continuing with what we started, where we left off. My guests have been introduced. Looks like we have one in the background due to a few glitches. My brother Tyrone is just joining. Tyrone, can you hear us?
No doubt, brother. Thanks for having me.
All right, you're welcome. Tyrone is the Tyrone. Can you please introduce? Let us know who you are and what you represent in the community. I know you are the director of Ex-Cons, which is a program here in a program here in Chicago. It's a community and social change program.
Right.
Please go ahead and expand a little bit on that so people can get to know who Tyrone Mohammed is.
Tyrone Mohammed, of course, executive director of ECCSC. That's Ex-Cons for community and social change. I served 21 years in prison, and while sitting in prison, watching the recidivism rate never being reduced for the young men and women coming in and out of prison that I saw, and I came to the conclusion that prison is not a place for reform. Prison is not a place of reformation and social justice. So, and watching and understanding that, and me having to be the mentor of over 200-300 young men at any given time, I say, you know what? It's clear. No benevolent white person, no pastor or politician are gonna be able to change the condition that is prison, that is our community, because most of them have sold out, and they really misunderstand or unable to really understand the depths of what the prison industrial complex is and what are the issues that face our communities that cause the blight and the despair and all the negativity and the violence. So I said, you know what, we have to come together to create this for ourselves. Since the prisoners formerly incarcerated had the biggest voting bloc. Make no mistake about it. That's why they try to take our rights away for the exercise the right and the power of the vote. They
Okay.
have the biggest. Go ahead. You want?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
so I wanted us. We probably will give you some time or have some, enough time to get into some of the details of your work and how you are impacting the city of Chicago, which is awesome. I have seen you do a whole bunch of things and actually see the formation of ECCSU from the grassroots, from the ground up. And I see the change that you're making. So we'll give it a chance to do that. In the meantime, can you tilt your phone sideways so we can have like a landscape?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's it.
There you go. Bam.
Okay.
Looks, this is
All right,
awesome.
that's better.
Well, yeah, it's absolutely
Right,
yeah. Great. Now, guys, let's get into it. Historically, what has been the cause for the separation of Black people? I mean, of course, history, tells all of us that Black people used to be on the. Our home is the continent of Africa. Per events and per adventure, and however you'd call it, we now find ourselves in the diaspora and across the globe with different styles, different cultures, and all of that. Let's zero in on specifically here in the diaspora. Let's say in the United States. Can we all maybe share some ideas of what we think, what we know of some historical facts that have distorted African people or Black people across the globe? And I'll start with the lady. And so, NATALYA, if you want to start with us, then we can go to smiling. Are you ready for us to start, or you want to have DEIDRA start? They're cool here. We can go with either.
No, I'll go ahead. So most of the separation regarding like the Caribbean, United States, I'm going to say it's stereotype. Even though we're all Black, we tend to stereotype each other's. People stereotype Jamaicans. They think all Jamaicans wear, are dreads and we smoke marijuana, which is not the case. Yes, I do have dreads, but the reason why I have it is because I'm more aligned with the Rastafarians. So that's where my belief is. So I respect my dreads for the belief. And I wish other Americans and people who support dreads would actually respect it for the belief behind it, and not assume it as being smoking weed all day, getting high. No, that's not what we do.
Okay.
Just go ahead.
So you say people should not associate dreadlocks with, smoking of weed?
No, because not all Rastafarians smoke. I don't.
Okay, not all Rastafarians smoke weed. That is very insightful. I mean, what you just said, because I have always growing up in Africa, it's equal, right? You equal Rastafarianism to weed smoking, and we've all known that. And so,
that's a misconception, because you also have the Ethiopian Orthodox, which are also part of what you'd see it as the Rastafarian regime also, but they have nothing to do with smoking marijuana.
Okay. The issue of the diaspora conversation has always been lurking in our communities, in our homes, in our offices, at community events. We chit-chat about each other. Caribbeans, Africans, African Americans, to a larger extent, Afro-Latina. We all have these misconceptions about each other. We all have this, apprehension towards each other. And there's this friction. And so we've thought that, and we do have this is not the first time, okay? And this is not like a new thing. These conversations, these dialogues go on day to day, with us. We just want to make it open. To the point where we can publicly say the things that we don't like about each other, or the things that we suspect or think of each other, and in doing that, we may come to a point where our communities can fluidly, integrate and coexist and support each other the way we ought to, and that's why this dialogue is very, very important. And so, if you're on Facebook, please help share the feed. YouTube as well is the Progressive Mind Show. You can right now listen to us on My Star Radio out there in Washington. My Star Radio is not a Pan-African radio station for the discerning listener. Now, let me get from SAHEED what you think has been some of the historical facts or factors that has affected the separation of Black people in the diaspora?
Yeah, Alinko, I mean, I can't overemphasize how important this conversation is. And you know, again, thank you for championing this. So I like to start first by defining the different categories that I personally categorize diaspora and Africans. Identify that they're diaspora and Africans migrated on the grounds of economic empowerment. There are those who actually migrated on the grounds of self-will, basically just deciding to find a better environment where structure is. Now, when you consider all of this, it's very clear that colonization, which obviously happened in most part of Africa as well, has a fundamental root as to how individuals were built up and the background of families before coming into the diaspora. Now, when you consider that compared with whatever culture and whatever lifestyle we meet in the in our various host countries, all of that seems to influence what you would averagely see someone from West Africa, basically the line of thought different from somebody who is from East Africa. So for me, colonization of Africa plays a fundamental role in the mindset of most Africans, before even coming to the various host countries, which now had more influence on the decision making and the acceptance within us as Black people.
KOFFE, do you want to add your 2 cents to this?
I hope that you can hear me. Yeah, I definitely want to add my 2 cents to this. I like to simplify things because it makes it easy for me to rationalize my decisions. I see it in 2 ways. There's voluntary migration, and then there's those that were forced to, migrate over to, the diaspora. And I'm talking about slavery particularly. The way that has shaped how Africans generally see and behave towards each other. Does matter, and I'll explain why. There's those that grew up in the United States and in other countries like the UK and all that, who knew the story of how their forefathers were brought over. They don't feel like Africa is any part of them. And I'm generalizing this, and I stand to be corrected. Okay, so it's not everybody that feels this way. There are people who have educated themselves and understand that this is where we come from. This is the story. And so we try to outline as much as possible. But in my personal opinion, again, this is my opinion, like a small group, there's a group of people that feel that the people like me who come from Africa, who have migrated willingly to this part of the country, are some sort of a different African. We're a different type of African, and they're a different type of African. That for me, and as a starter to the conversation, that for me puts a wedge right there between us and those that migrated and those that live here. Jamaicans, people who live in the UK, people who live in the US, African Americans, and then of course Africans who migrated from Africa, willingly to come over and live here. And so that for me, in answer to your question, already creates the platform for stereotype migrated, if you get what I mean.
Yes, I definitely get what you mean. My brother, that is a good explanation. I really thank you for Tyrone. You've been listening intently. My sister Tuyeni Akange, the master educator, she joined us last minute. You are welcome to the Progressive Mind Show, Tuyeni.
Peace and love, beautiful people. Peace and love. Thank you for welcoming me. I look forward to engaging in this conversation. I really do. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, I would encourage everyone to help minimize the noise in your background or your surroundings, because it does give us a lot of feedback. And if you're listening with any device, please turn it down and or put it on mute if you can. That will go a long way in helping the discussion this evening. Tyrone, you've been listening. Do you think that historical events added or has abated to the separation of Black people in the diaspora?
Most definitely. I would just like to say, if you would, sister, what's her name, sister? Tuyani. Tuyani.
Now,
I would just like for her to give her thoughts first before I say what I would have to say.
Okay.
Because she just in, we always get the queens first.
Okay, great.
And right. I don't want to stop that practice. Okay,
all right. Thanks for being the best gentleman on the show, my brother. You are the best. Now, let's say this. we just give you some big ups, bro. No, bro, can you step back a little bit so we can see your whole image? I think you are a little bit close to the camera. If you can step back a little bit. Okay, so Tuyeni, are you? Can we hear your take on the historical events or historical contribution to our separation as Black people in the diaspora?
The work that I do is about going to the roots. Okay, so let's go to the root, because we can't start in the middle of history. We have to start at the beginning. First things first is everybody who is a descendant of the diaspora, we have to understand that our ancestors decided that they were going to sell us out. So that's where the disconnect started. It started at home. We have to understand that we were already enslaving our own people. We were already creating a hierarchy amongst humanity in our own homeland. So of course, other people can come outside of our homeland and do the same thing for us. We are the roots. We started mistreating ourselves, and therefore we are now a product of what has happened. So let me add to that. So first, that's the root. The root is we sold ourselves out for some idea of power that we would get in connecting to foreign energies, right? Then what ends up happening is that the lack of true critical thinking and the lack of true knowing had us thinking that people in other areas of the world who look like us are actually not part of our bloodline. So we grow up in these institutions that teach us about slavery, but don't teach us about what happens before slavery and the other cultures that we are connected to as a result of the diaspora. So first, the root is we sold ourselves out. And the second part of that is the lack of education and history and literacy being taught with fidelity. So when we can sit down and understand that we all in the same boats and that we are literally just different facets of the same coin, then we'll be able to have a real conversation about what we have to do. And the root of it is to heal the trauma. What was our ancestors thinking to believe that we should enslave ourselves? What are we thinking right now to believe that we need to point the finger at individuals from different cultures as opposed to going inwardly and healing these traumas that were created by our ancestors? The trauma is the reason why we continue to perpetuate the disconnect of our cultures, and the lack of our education is the reason why we continue to perpetuate the ignorance. And our victim seat mentality is another reason why we continue to again evolve on this hamster wheel of disconnect.
My sister has issued out some powerful punches, and I really, really love it. Before I continue, though, I must say that your kente scarf and your earring is banging. I love it. All right, you're looking very royal, the African queen, and right. Thank you so much for your submission, Kofi. Well, Tyrone, you wanted to add? Would you like to add to what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I agree with our magnificent sister. So stereotypes started, and from my opinion, even from the cartoon, all these negative images of big lips, bones, this primitive nature of Africa that's displayed throughout the cartoons, movies, Turner classics, and the likes, from Tarzan to all these different images that has allowed us to be brainwashed as it relates to the diaspora, to our motherland. Once again, sister, and what sister is on point is that the distrust is innate in the fact that Africans have enslaved their own people and sending us to America in this way. And then it's no coincidence that we still function today as tribes and cliques and crews to a point that we kill each other in the hood. So this is a learned behavior that started from our ancestors. So what we see today in the men and the women today, and the misinformation and the disconnect, it's perpetuated and it's continued to take form in the inner cities of these of America, I mean throughout America and the world. So I would say that y'all see my little puppy son. See, so I would say that television play a huge role. Music play a huge role in the way that we mistreat or misjudge ancestors.
Okay. So Toyeni and Tyrone argument is linking our separation to what transpired many years ago, basically saying that Africans, I mean, we are the cause of all of this, that we were doing this to ourselves, we were more treating each other and selling each other. That's a lot of and that's the you know, view, and there's a lot of truth to that. Being an African, you know, saying some of the traditions and even to date some of the practices, Trokosi and all of that. And Kofi, you can attest to that. Now, you being an African, Kofi, do you want to maybe contribute? I maybe add a little bit to what Saheed and Kofi. I don't know if you wanted to contribute to what Toyeni and Tyrone just said.
Yes, I'd like to add something. I do agree to a large extent that we sold ourselves out. It was as much as we want to blame the person that, you know, came in and bought the slaves, we participated. But where I want to depart, you know, and disagree, if I may use the word, from what they have said, that the two, and I mean Tierney and Tyrone, is it sounds to me like that's the victim mentality we just talked about. That we have to find somebody to blame for why we are where we are. And let me say why I disagree. Because our forefathers, those guys who helped, you know, perpetuate this really horrible practice of selling, you know, our own to another person who came and had the money and everything, obviously they didn't go out looking for, you know, somebody to sell to. Somebody had to come to them, and there were reasons. There were economic environments around that time, and I'm not defending their actions, but I'm trying to say that things happen, and they have done what they did. If we want to move forward and we want to be able to deal with how our race, you know, as a group of people, you know, as Black people, you know, how we can get better, I think that blaming them for what they did at that time doesn't solve anything. Why don't we also put some of the blame on the shoulders of those that, you know, paid out the money, who brought the ships, who created the environment, you know, and who carried the people and who enslaved them for years and years and benefited from that. I saw a documentary quickly, and I'll let you go ahead. I saw a documentary and saw the tokens that were used to buy those slaves. I mean, these were just created. It was like, and I've carefully used the word, like a black market trade. They had different artifacts and what they meant and how much they were valued on the market. And forgive my not having the specific terms. But when I watch those things, it hurts. And so for educational purposes, you might want to learn about it, but I try not to dwell on it. And that's my point. We want to move forward. We want to be able to be forward thinking. We understand what happened, and we don't feel like victims. We should feel like we have survived this horrific, you know, turn of events in life, and we're looking forward as a people. How can we get together and, you know, build on our race? Okay.
Saheed, you wanted to contribute to that?
Yeah, I'll jump in as well. So I would agree with both. That's, you know, Kofi as well as my sister and my brother. Tian. Primarily, I did reference colonialism as a major root to all of this. Why? Because, you know, it's funny that the title of your show seems to speak in that direction, which is what I thought is our challenge, you know, from the history of colonization. Will be at some point we stop being progressive set of, you know, people. Because when you look at it, when the colonization happened back then, what really was it all about? It was actually offering Africans what they felt they couldn't create by themselves. I mean, when slaves were being sold, what were they being traded for? I mean, we're talking about being traded for drinks. We're talking about being traded for white collar outfits and things like that. So you basically see that as much as, yes, we can actually, you know, challenge the history of most of our old leaders. We should also realize that, you know, certain fundamentals that makes us as Black people at some point became so obsolete. We became too relaxed and too laid back to actually begin to think into the future. Because look at it, before the colonization really happened, what was Africa all about? We're all about progression. We're all about taking territories as well. We're all about expanding our scope. Regardless of our culture, which basically puts, most of the citizens listening and yielding to the voice of their leaders, it was always about at least self-improvement, self-development. So I do agree that, yes, we should, know and reference the past, but in the same light, we should know that moving forward, progressiveness is really what we need to embrace as a people. And we, especially in the diaspora, that's what we need to start challenging ourselves more to focus on and, building on the past for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, Tuyeni is ready to fire back. I was suspecting that.
Nothing coming in.
Just the sister. Now, don't be fooled by her name. If you're watching, she's Tuyeni Akanke, a typical African name, maybe in Nigeria. She is full-blown African American. Okay, all right, go ahead.
I'm Native American. I am of the Choctaw. I'm Choctaw Native American, and I'm also Fulani and Nigerian as well. But yeah, as it relates to culture, I'm super Chicago. You feel me? So let's go back to what y'all saying, because y'all done threw out a few straw man arguments, right? And so and the reason why I say that is because the question was, what happened historically to bring us here?
Yes, what has contributed to our division per history? And this is, and so you're right. Yes.
So I answered the question. Now I do understand and I do believe that no, we cannot dwell on the past. We cannot dwell on what has happened in the past. No, we cannot do that. But what we can do is have a root cause analysis. And until we get into a culture, until we normalize going to the roots, uprooting and replanting, we are not going to grow we're not going to grow from new seeds. We're going to continue to grow from the taint seeds that have been planted by our ancestors. Now, let me let y'all know something. I value each and every one of my ancestors. So this is not said in anger at them. This is not said in judgment of them. This is said in truth. And we have to, as a community, be willing to speak in truth and accept truth, because that's the only way that we're going to move forward. At the end of the day, there were some people who we gotta go back before. Let's go back before slavery happened. We, as Black people, as people of African descent, it is our job to put the soul back on the planet. That's our job. So at some point, we stopped doing that and we became more physical than we were spiritual beings. So I'm coming to y'all, yes, from a historical perspective, but really this is all spiritual. What we have to understand is that there was a string of spiritual energy and faith and connectedness to our God that we let go of. And as a result, we are where we are.
Okay.
Until we accept that fact, we're going to continue to toil in disagreement or rebuttal of the points that we make. But the root of this is that we are all spirits having a human experience. And we got to be honest about what spiritual energy impacted our human experience. And that was that thing. Somebody let go of the God-body power. And now we got to walk and get back to that God-body power because our ancestors gave it up.
Okay. So, Tuyeni, if I'm understanding you, the part of the reason for our separation as Black people in the diaspora, if I understand again from your submission, is that we give up our spirituality. We were involved in selling ourselves back then, and as a result, we are here. Okay, so those are established facts by you, and there are literature, a lot of literature out there supporting what you're saying. But to my other brothers too, is that right now we are thinking of how we just want to understand some of the things that caused why we're here. So understanding that is very good. Knowing that is very good. But I think that we have to be careful not to dwell on it. But brother Tyrone, go ahead.
You know, one thing I've learned from the Jewish community is that you can be a victim and be strong as well. It's like you're gonna tell a woman that's been raped, that's been robbed, that's been beaten, not to play victim. See, even though she's strong, that she still was a victim of rape. She still was a victim of abuse. But that don't make her not strong. That don't make her not focus on the issues that even caused the rape or could potentially cause the rape. And then all I'm saying is that sometimes we as a people, we take victim as negative. See, where there's a victim, there's also a community of people and persons and land and nations that ought to heal those individuals from the issues of our ancestors. So I don't see it as victim blaming, or when you blaming the victim, blaming everyone. That's why you know me, Zena. I started ex-community and social change because I wanted to be progressive in the way that we deal with the ills that has caused other people to live off of our dead flesh. Because Black death is a hustle, Black bodies is a hustle, and it has been a hustle since our since our ancestors sold us into slavery. So Black death has always been a hustle. Free labor has always been a hustle. So it's not victim, it's not playing victim, it's pointing out a real issue in order, like the sister say, into how can we expect the fruit to to bear good seeds when the roots are poison, when the roots fail to take hold. I find it very disingenuous and rather hypocritical that the Africa diaspora would talk about how the white man village rob the land, do all the things necessary to continue to perpetuate theft in our native lands, our Africa, but yet fail to acknowledge that there's a people that need to be made whole as a result of what our ancestors did. But yet we hold the white man accountable for what he's doing and has done and continue to do. So we got to, if we can acknowledge it on the grand scale, we have to acknowledge it amongst ourselves that we've been the biggest hypocrites to our own rise and our own fall.
Deidra.
Yeah, so I definitely agree that we definitely have to address the roots which took place before we left the continent. And I think that's a very important piece of the discussion that is oftentimes left out when we have these kind of debates and discussions. But I think another important factor to consider how the slave owners were able to gain control over the slaves and their minds and their bodies. And as we know, it was a very strategic way in which they broke the slaves and they destroyed the family and they destroyed the community. And as you said, we should not dwell upon, this victimhood, but it is a very important part of the discussion. And I think it's also very integral part of what's causing us to be divided, right? So you have like the Willie Lynch letter, which was created to teach slave owners how to gain control of their slaves. So he would basically teach them how to use distrust and fear and anger, all these different feelings and emotions, stirring that within the slaves to get them to be divided. It's old against the young, the woman against the man, the light against the dark, even down to the very texture of the slave's hair, using these physical attributes to divide us. And then also beyond the personal level, going to the family, thinking of the ways in which they strategically tried to divide the woman and the man slave and to use this division as a way to gain control over their children and their physical bodies. So I think these are all very important factors to consider when we think about why we are divided, why we don't trust each other, why we're continuously plagued with these issues of colorism and texturism when it comes to hair. These are issues that were strategically created to divide and conquer us.
I think, Natalia.
In what happened in the US compared to what actually happened in the Caribbean. One thing about Jamaican is that always have and maintain our African culture. As you guys probably know or probably do not know, in Jamaica we have the Maroons, which came from back in slavery. We maintain that roots up until today. We were taught. We know about our culture. This is something that we all know. In Jamaica, you have what they call the Maroon land, which is a sacred area that they're under their own laws and religion and everything. They maintain the Ashanti tribe. Everything that happens from Africa back to Jamaica, we still maintain that. So we have a strong sense of our culture. So we're the type of people that you would say are not as I'm going to say not as lost as Americans, because we maintain that. And also, when Marcus Garvey came to the United States and said to the slaves in America, the Caribbean is free. We are free people. He did everything to educate these people that they're free. And he also went ahead and say, Africa is for Africans. Let's see how we can go back to our roots.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So that is Natalia's submission as well. Great inputs. All right. I think the plane is about to take off. We were just we're about to actually do the real thing. But let's recognize people who have some of the folks that have joined us on Facebook and on YouTube. We have Chaziti Aswit Nava Freeman says his history say in 300 years slavery would make themselves. It's 300 years from date. Okay, thank you for your comment. John Opes says always great to meet my brothers and sisters here. Thank you, John, for chiming in. Bartholomew Shekbon says the hierarchy of power is everywhere, not just in Africa. Rebecca Mode says thank you so much, Pastor Ameya, for tuning in. God bless you. Ameya, I think Ameya is here. Pastor Ameya, thank you for tuning in. God bless you so much. I hope you are sharing the feed whilst you were watching us, so we can spread, get this word out there and get a lot of participation, because this is what we need as Black people. We need to have these hard conversations. It's good for our healing. Bartholomew again says, I vehemently disagree with Akange. What history is she talking about? Okay, so maybe she can respond to that. All right, so that's for our Facebook audience, Facebook and YouTube audience. Let's try and get. I know that what's his name? Akange was one. Atuyeni wanted to contribute to the point that was already made, but your screen, Tuyeni, I don't know what happened to it. If you want to turn in landscape, you might want to touch on the. You might want to rotate your phone first. Great. Okay. I think it's back now. Well, it's 6:48 p.m. here in the studios of the Progressive Minds. We are in Chicago. My name is Sena, aka Alinko. We're live every Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. engaging you and I in discussions such as these. So my sister is back. Okay, let's hear from Tuyeni what she has to say. But whilst you're watching, please help share the feed. I see that Rebecca has shared it. I haven't seen Pastor Maya. I haven't seen Charity sent it. John, you haven't shared it yet. So please go ahead and share it. Tuyeni, go ahead and make your point.
I was trying to share the video, so if you can check to see if I shared the video, that would be helpful. But let's talk about. I'm so happy that we've gotten into this conversation around culture. And we've gotten into this conversation. And sis, you said the word lost as it relates to African American peoples. What we have to understand is that African American people do have a culture.
Okay.
My ancestors who now are dwells within me, my grandmama, my great aunt just died Sunday. We have a culture. And our culture is by way of handing down information by word of mouth. My father is one of the most wisest people in my family. So he carries a lot of the wisdom of our family. We have a culture, we have food, we have customs and traditions, we have music. Come on now, hip hop is one of the most influential types of music in the world. That came from us.
No. So that came from Jamaica. Always remember the founder
wait.
was actually.
No, No, you got to get
No,
because this is the problem with our people.
Wait.
The problem. You're not going to tell me that.
Wait. I'm sorry. Tuyeni, I apologize for the interjection of Natalia. She didn't mean to do that. I think it's the conversation is getting very interesting, more interesting. So I think she got carried away. She was excited. But please go ahead. She made a point about loss, which you were responding to. So go ahead and respond. And please, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we are here. We want to have an open conversation. Let's wait for our turn and let's rebut accordingly and not let's not get emotions get out of the way or get in the way. Let's not let emotions get in the way. That's what I wanted to say. But please, my sister Tieni, go ahead.
Ashay, I'm very passionate, and this is something that I've been wanting to talk about. Now, first, let me say Jamaica is one of my favorite places in the world. So let's go there. I love Jamaica. Right. One of the things that we have to understand about Black people is that there's always you ain't Black enough, or you ain't got your, or you ain't got your. As African Americans, we constantly have to defend our identity against our own people. We constantly have to defend our credibility against individuals who carry our same blood. Your mind and your hips don't make you more found than me because I do the butterfly. And what we have to understand is that as African American people, yes, I'm Fulani. I come from the group of people who are medicine people. I come from the group of people who are herders, who take care of animals, who eat from the land, right? And I am African American. I know that about my African tradition. I know that as an African American from the Smith family, from the Choctaw Native American tribe, that we are also medicine people, right? It took me doing some more research to do that. I feel like a lot of Native Africans and a lot of people from the Caribbean, y'all constantly get your culture taught to you all. You constantly have things happening in the education, right? Your teachers may look like you and things of that nature. In America, we have to literally continue to fight mental slavery every day, all day, and thrive. So don't tell me we ain't got no culture. Don't tell me we lost when we continue to thrive in the midst of the circumstances that try to kill us and beat us down. One of the things that I wish you would say is, you know what this? I see what's happening over there in America. And I see how as a Jamaican, I can help to enrich what's happening with you, my sister. What I can see is now, it's not that you lost. I can see that y'all have a culture, but I can see that just like Jamaicans, we got some trauma healing that we have to do. And ultimately, everybody got to heal traumas, no matter what culture you are from. And I would like to tell everybody who has a country that they can point back to, because African Americans can't necessarily point back to a country. I had to do my research to point back to my tribe. I had to do my research to point back to where my people are from. You have to understand that that's a profound thing, and that's a profound part of our identity, where there is a mass community of African Americans now going to do their research. Well, y'all necessarily, you could be a little bit complacent because you ain't have to do the level of research that we had to do. I want you to think about how each culture had to develop itself. I want you to think about how each body of people had to survive when we were erased from what is true to us. Okay. Think about that. And it's important that we honor each other and we honor the journeys that we on. For real. That's for real.
It is for real. It is so much for real. And I have something to say, but anybody else wants to contribute to what Tuyeni said? I don't know if we lost Tyrone. I think we're trying to see if we can get Tyrone back. But anybody want to contribute to Tuyeni? Okay.
I'm sorry. You go.
Okay. So I think Natalia wanted to interject, but Saeed, you haven't spoken in a little while. So go ahead, respond, and then we can come to Natalia and then KOFFE.
Right. Thanks. So Tieni, I think, pretty much the focus of referencing this history is not basically, having we free-minded Africans, deny the reality that African Americans have. Just the same thing, I identify with every single, reality they've gone through, brothers and my sisters. I'm also, you know, eager to inform them that, you know,
Guys,
you know, you can
I'm sorry.
safe for example,
Hold on,
way
Saeed,
over
we
to
can barely hear you, and I think it's because
Yeah.
of background noise from some folks. So please, ladies and gentlemen, please help us minimize the noise. Go ahead, Saeed. Go ahead.
Okay, can everyone hear me clearly now?
Yes, we can.
Gotcha. Okay, so my reference is, you know, it isn't as though, you know, free migrant Africans are not recognizing and identifying with the reality and the culture that plays in the African American community. But at the same time, it's also important to understand that even, you know, within Africa itself, we've got diverse cultures, which obviously even puts the free migrant Africans who are still trying to even understand and learn each other's culture. So in coming to play about the history, okay, like I said earlier, it's, you know, we cannot overrule the fact that everyone who's actually coming already have a mindset of, you know, how their lifestyle is made and how things play out. Now, when you consider what the new age or what the new phase of life is, I mean, let's not deny reality here. Every individual is basically leaving to, you know, to expand their horizon and also improve on their life. When that comes into play, it literally relegates culture almost to the back, because then the instinct of survival is actually what comes forward. But in the truth of us being able to advance and move this forward, of course, we have to embrace the part of knowledge, the part of history, and the part of actually focusing and embracing how we collectively can come to terms with, yes, we know that's the culture, we accept that culture, but, you know, in moving forward, how do we nurse empowering you more? Just like, you know, she said, how can we empower you more to be able to, you know, share this information in such a way that it's really not coming out as being, you know, defensive or outrightly, you know, upset about the reality that, you know, that is now playing out in the today, because between the past and the now is a very thin line that we have to always focus on as we, you know, share all of this information. That's
Okay.
just, yeah, the point I was wondering. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. If you want to call into this show after 7 p.m., you can do that. It's 815-277-5047. Please feel free to call into the to call in and contribute to what we're discussing today. It is the convo, the diaspora convo. It is a much needed conversation, and there couldn't have been a better time to engage. We have been trying for the past years to be calling for this type of dialogue openly, and I feel like the season has come for us to take it to a new heights. This year, a lot of things happened, from George Floyd to a whole bunch of situations. We would have the opportunity. I would like to address that, but Natalia, you wanted to make a point. Go ahead, and then we'll take a short break when it's 7 p.m.
I'm kind of happy what Saheed said about the cultural aspect, where that's your culture and, you know, you respect that culture and move on. And I want to also put out there that hip hop was founded by DJ Kool Herc, which is a Jamaican. And that comes back to accepting and respecting one culture. We're happy to share that with you guys so that you now have hip hop. So I had to put that out there. You guys can move on.
Okay.
See, and that's the problem.
Okay.
Problem.
Okay.
That's the problem. There is no competition.
It's not a competition. It's acceptance, appreciation.
Okay.
And admit to it. You said we did not. And I'm giving you the facts behind it. So give unto Caesar what is due to Caesar. Don't say no when you know it is.
Okay, wait.
I'm gonna argue with you, beautiful.
It's not arguing. It's FACT facts.
Okay. Natalia, I know that there is. Look at our skin, man. You know, we're the same color. Okay, we're one people. Even within our own nucleus family, we have, you know, you could be twins or triplets, but still have different traits. And sometimes you bump heads. You say, hey, that green socks is mine. You say, hey, no, yours is supposed to be blue, you know. So we may get into all of that. So viewers, this is a sibling kind of, tete-a-tete. This is no fight in here, right? We're doing a rivalry, sibling rivalry kind of situation. But
it ain't no sibling rivalry. No, I don't agree with that.
No, Tierney, can I please land?
Go ahead. I'm gonna mute my mic.
No, I am, in my opinion, this is a sibling rivalry situation. That's fine. When you get your turn, you can dispute that. But I'm hoping that in the spirit of togetherness, again, you may get into it with your sibling, but then when Thanksgiving come, when that day when all the family had to come together and party and laugh, we all come together. It does not mean that there's no friction between us. All I'm saying is that let's just be circumspect so that the passion and emotion does not get ahead of the real conversation that needs to be had. I am glad that we can have an open conversation about our differences. But you see, what I hope is not going to happen is that, no, that is not yours, that is not mine. Whoever invented hip hop, that person is black. You'll be surprised. For all you know, his ancestry or his ancestors, for all you know, we all might share that person's ancestors, right? If you get down to the root of it, for all you know, it may be my great grandfather, and that great grandfather's brother could be your great grandfather. So it's all connected. The person is black anyway. So it doesn't matter if the person came from Jamaica or came from Africa or came from African America. Somebody invented hip hop, and that person happened to be black. Now, at the point he invented it, he may have been within the African American community, or maybe situated in what you call Jamaica or in the Caribbean. It's all good. It's all good. We claim the person is black. We understand that. So we can claim all the claiming, but the goal for this evening is that identifying the things that have kept us apart. And so as we are identifying, we should try and stay on there and not make it personal. And that's all I wanted to say. It's 7 p.m. I know Tierney wanted to respond. Kofi, you wanted to respond as well. We'll take a short break. When we come back, I'll let Tierney respond, and then Kofi, you can get your turn. Okay, Tierney, is that fair? Okay. I'm sorry. I think your mic was off. Sorry about that.
It's good.
Okay, great. We still haven't been able to connect my brother Tyrone. I don't know what's happening to his system, but we will see if we can get to it.
It must have been the sunset, ooh, the summer sunset. It's summertime and I'm in my prime. It feels nice outside, so dance, baby girl, just dance. Louis bag in your hand, you don't need no man. You just need your feet and toes in between the sand. Get your tan on, girl, get your tan on. I'm looking like, damn, can I mess with your plan? I'm a fan. I'm gazing at her lakeshore eyes, her Colgate smile. It's summertime. The sunset, ooh, the summer sunset. It must have been the sunset, ooh, the summer sunset. We'll never let you down. So DJ spin the lights on.
it's fine. I'm not gonna
Welcome to the Progressive Mind Show. It is very hot here in our studios. Today, we are talking about the diaspora conversation. This is the part one. Watch out for more of this, all right? We're just scrapping the face of this. And so, indulge us. If you want to contribute, the number is 815-277-5047, 815-277-5047. What has been the reason for the division of Black people in the diaspora? And we're trying to get into the roots of it. DEIDRA, COLEMAN, KOFI, JACQUAYE, SAHEED-O, ADEEYELE, NATALYA, Stephenson. I'm not saying NATALYA Stephenson is from the Caribbean community. She's Jamaican, and Saeed is Nigerian American. KOFI is Ghanaian American. DEIDRA is African American. TYRONE is African American. TYRONE, we had him on the show earlier, but for some reason we're not able to get him back. We're trying to see if we can still get TYRONE. And all right, so KOFI, I think, no, TYRONE, we were waiting on you to make a point. If you're ready, please go ahead, and then KOFI can have your turn too. Now, before you do that, if you're watching us on Facebook, please go ahead and share the feed now, all right? And for my guests too, you can go ahead and share it. Your friends can watch and follow what we're doing. There are so many comments on the feed. We are also on YouTube. Go ahead and share it now. We have a call coming in. Let's try and take this call. Let's try and take this call to you, if you don't mind, and then we can come to you. Caller, please tell us your name and why you're calling.
Why, hi. Good evening. My name is Bart Shepkong. Actually, I am really enjoying the conversation, but I feel that I really need to call to contribute.
Okay.
And especially, I really want to challenge TYRONE because I listened to her history, the history lesson she was trying to give us, and whatever she was trying to say about, you know, we Africans, so our ancestors selling ourselves, something in regard to that.
Right.
So my thing is, in my own opinion, first of all, we need to really deconstruct that narrative, because I think it's a common narrative among African Americans, and that Africans actually sold them to slavery. So, and the second point I really want to make is, you know, when we talk about trauma, I think we, especially Africans and African Americans, tend to forget the extent of trauma that colonization has inflicted on us. So when we talk about these things, let us look at it holistically. Let us just not look at it from just one perspective. Yeah, you have to ask yourself, how did the colonial master got into the African continent in the first place? The last thing I really want to leave you with, I am going to suggest that you watch The Journey of an African Colony. It's on Netflix. Maybe that will shed more light to this conversation that we're having. But otherwise, it's been a great conversation, and I'm really enjoying it. Thank you.
My brother, thank you so much for your contribution. You make our community a better place. We appreciate it. The number to call is 815-277. Looks like we have another call coming in. Caller, can you please tell us your name and why you're calling?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please tell us your name and why you're calling to the show today.
Yes, my name is John Oben AP. I'm calling from Texas.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, sure. I'm just calling. This is a very interesting conversation, and I'm very, very glad that we can have this conversation in this generation. I was a little bit furious and very, very disappointed when I watched and listened to my sisters, you know, standing on the same foundation that has kept us where we are today.
Which sister are you talking about? Which sister are you talking about?
I'm talking about Sister
NATALYA. Okay.
NATALYA and
TYRONE. Okay.
TYRONE. So this is the status quo. This is what has happened to our lives here in the United States. I just want to remind all of us, just like the previous speaker said, most of us from Africa, we have also experienced this trauma of colonialism. not only colonialism. I stand here knowing very well that my grandparents or great-grandparents were sold. And if you know what it means, their families that were left behind, meaning that their fellow brothers and sisters were sold and they will never see them. That was traumatic enough.
Right.
So it is time for us to move past this whole thing. It is time for us to work together. I have had to present on at least 2 occasions where we're talking about a divide between Africans and African Americans. It is all based on the perspective that we work on each other. I really, really wish that we find common grounds to move on. Marcus Garvey did not stand for African Americans alone. He stood for Africans. Bob Marley sang all the songs. The center of all the songs were the injustice on Africans. It was not all on African Americans or Jamaicans. The center was Africa. Today we have Dr. Arikana moving from one part of the world to the other, preaching about unity. This is what we are supposed to be focused on. Let's leave these things behind. It is history that we should learn and we should uphold, but it is also opportunity that we should learn. We should move forward. We should move ahead. We should get along with each other. We should find common grounds. How do we go from here? Thank you.
Thank you so much, my brother. You make our community a better place. We really, really appreciate you. Well, so Tieni, please go ahead. You were going to make a point before the call came through.
I'm actually happy that the calls came through because it's very clear that people are not completely listening to me. It's very clear. So from the time that I came on here, and I'm going to be clear, I talked about root cause analysis. That's what I was talking about. I was talking about the trauma and the spiritual work that has to be done in this community. And what happened, what the audience experienced was a representation of the exact spiritual elements that got us to where we are. It is for us to be in our homeland and for one leader to say, I'm going to enslave you and you're going to have to pay a debt to me because I'm here and I'm there. We had all these different tribes and different cultures who were butting heads, right? Whether or not it was African American or the Jamaican who whatever, we still experiencing poverty. We're still, if we show up in America in a car and somebody comes and a cop comes to our door, we're gonna be blackety black to whoever comes to the door. So what I've said from the beginning is I wish that instead of telling me that African Americans are lost, instead of there being a judgment or you trying to tell me, you know, just how culturally enriched the Jamaican is, right? I said, talk to me about how your culture can then help to enrich mine because we come from the same blood. And so ultimately, I'm not here to have a conversation defending my perspective. I'm here having a conversation defending the life of people who share the blood that I share. I'm here having a conversation about how it's easy for you to sit back and watch the African-American experience. But until you have lived the African-American experience, until you have understood the African-American experience and then work to love the African-American unconditionally, that's when you're going to realize what it really all is. I feel like this conversation is a bit biased, to be honest, and I'm going to be honest with you, because who all here is native to America, number one? And how many of the callers who just called in were native to America? We have to understand our bias. I have my own bias because I'm from America. And I also have my own bias because I am not just African American. I am Choctaw Native American. I am Fulani. I wasn't even given my credit for being African. To the host, you were saying, you know, Tiani, her name looks African, things of that nature, but she is full blood African American. No, I'm Fulani and I'm Nigerian. And I'm Choctaw Native American. So until native people from native lands can honor that I have a culture and that I am you and I am a reflection of you, we're going to continue to be on this hamster wheel until we're able to really hear one another. You know what? I'm going to go and do the research on hip hop because I don't want to be around here saying that it was just the African American who started it, but it was a combination of African American and Jamaican culture. And I said what I said.
Exactly.
So,
We'll split it. Hip hop was initiated or started by an African American and a Caribbean. How about that? They came together.
All right, we can do that. Why are you trying to come back and rebut? I don't want to fight you, sis, because I'm throwing these hands for
Look,
I'm
sure, we
my demons to have to come fight yours.
to share our culture with everyone.
Right.
I mean, Bob Marley is a total representation of us. We
Right.
love everyone. Bob Marley taught us so much about Africa. And that's why we appreciate Africa so much, you know, because we know our history. We were taught these stuff, so we know. So we're happy, more than happy to share it with the world. So no, sorry if any offense, there should be none, because we love everyone.
Okay, so Kofi, you were going to make a point. Please go ahead. And I don't know if Deidra, let me know. Okay.
Yes, I'd love for Deidra to go, because she hasn't said a lot about this, and she's just been smiling whilst we go through this. But
okay,
yeah, sorry,
ready? Go ahead.
Yes.
Deidra, you ready to? Deidra, you ready?
Deidra, you ready to go? Yes, please.
Yes. Sure. Thank you, Kofi. I just wanted to respond because, yes, I mean, I identify as African American. I've never done an ancestry test, so I have no idea where my roots are. Oftentimes I'm approached, you know, by Africans who say, oh, you know, are you Nigerian? Are you Kenyan? They want to know, you know, what the connection is. And when I say I don't know, then I usually feel that disconnect. Like they kind of take a step back and they're like, okay, she's just African American. So the connection doesn't exist. So there's no reason to make any further effort, right, to make this connection. So I've experienced that as an African American, and also that, yeah, misconception that we don't have culture, or the culture we have is less than, or the negative associations with culture that's perpetuated by the media or the news, the stereotypes that exist about our culture. So I think there is like this idea that we have a culture, right? People accept that, but there are a lot of negative associations with our culture. And we're oftentimes seen as like dejected, vulnerable, like less than. And a lot of that, we've discussed the historical roots of those misconceptions. So I think a very important, part that our sister is contributing to this conversation is that we have culture. And a lot of the culture is deeply rooted in what our ancestors brought with them when they left the continent and they came to this country. When you look at many of our cultural traditions, you can still see traces of Africa and African culture, and even the language is embedded within the culture and the language that we have in the States. So I think it is very important to acknowledge that we do indeed have a culture and we are connected. We have the same roots. And that this is really what we need to get at. This is the source of the disconnect, and it has to be addressed before we can move forward collectively as a people.
Thank you. Kofi.
Oh yeah, finally, I do get to say something. Okay, so, all I want to tell you is, Sena, the conversation so far emphasizes why this conversation is necessary. The way it's gone so far tells you how important it is that we should be having this conversation. And here's the way I'm looking at it. The lines are clearly drawn. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's seeing it, where people are looking at things from different perspectives, and rightly so, because that is your experience shapes you. What you know shapes you. So I can understand Tuyene to a large extent, expressing the frustration and, for lack of a better word, what she feels people think of the African-American community. And I can understand NATALYA, because she is coming from a very rich background where she thinks that people underestimate, what they have to offer. What about us Africans who have migrated here, who, Tuyene calls it native Africans? The caller just told you, we also feel marginalized. First of all, we have to go through the trauma of colonialism. In my personal opinion, and I know people are going to bash me for this, but my people have been subdued mentally as a result of years and years of colonialism. That's a big thing to walk around in life with. People say, where I come from in Ghana, they say, oh, we're one of the most hospitable countries, because people don't speak up. They see white people, they see foreigners, and they're happy to welcome you. They don't even tell you if you're doing something that's wrong. I've just described 3 different perspectives, right? It is why we're having this conversation. And so if we want to bridge this gap, if we want to begin to appreciate why, my African-American sister says what she says, and why my Caribbean sister thinks what she thinks, and why my Nigerian brother still has a jollof beef with me, I need to be able to understand where they are coming from. And you have to make that overture. You need to be able to stop and listen carefully to what the other person's experience has been. And so to be specific, Tierney, and I'm coming to you because you have been one of the strong voices in this conversation. People, despite what you think, people or Native Africans understand what African Americans have gone through. I don't know whether you're going to believe that or not, but I can tell you, I wouldn't like to be in that position where, my ancestors were brought over and I can't, like you said, you can't point a finger to where you come from. As bad economically as where we come from is, and all the problems that, Africa has, there are a lot of benefits to it. And what I would suggest is that instead of people taking that high road in quotes and saying that, oh, I'm here and I'm stuck here and I have this culture and you think I don't have it, I think it's all, a lot of it is defensive. You take that position because you think people are saying things that, but have you actually tried to cross the road to the other side and listen to the other person and understand why they feel the way they feel? We both need to be able to put our defenses down. That's all I'm trying to say. Everybody just, whatever you knew before you came onto the show, maybe this is an opportunity to start listening to each other. That's what I have to say. Senna, do we have you? Yes, I don't know if Senna still has the controls, but I think that if he does, he would know. Deidra, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I guess you understand what I'm trying to say here. That we have a lot of us have taken this entrenched position where we assume what we know about each other, and then based on that, we stereotype them, and that's the whole conversation, the stereotyping. So as much as we do love you guys as fellow Black people, and I at the risk of sounding racist, I would trust you first over somebody else that looks like another person. I would give you a chance, and I'm sure we'll go to the conversation about how we'll be able to bridge this gap and go to the next level of helping each other, because we need to be able to start giving each other a chance. Before I judge you, I need to be able to listen to you. I need to be able to hear your story and your exposure, guys, then we'll be able to bridge that gap.
Right.
So
looks like
we have him back.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I'm having technical issues here. I think the heat of the discussion is
getting to you.
Yeah, it's getting to me.
He's burning up.
It's burning up my system. All my things are more functioning, and so it's all good. But somebody was going to make a point. Tierney, you wanted to respond to what he said.
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
This is another thing. Like, I refuse to defend the first thing everybody is saying, because I'm a very passionate being, right? The first thing you're saying is you're talking about my frustration without hearing the content of what I'm saying. Let me tell you something. The work that I do in this world is going to heal every ailment that my life was meant to heal on this planet. I'm not worried about that. So regardless of if everybody on this call agrees with my perspective of or not, the work that I meant to do in this world is still going to get done, right? And so I am not, it's interesting, right? You're not hearing me. It's like we're constantly going back and forth with with my fire as opposed to listening to what I'm saying. The solution that I'm proposing is trauma healing. The solution that I'm proposing is going inside self, so then we can all unify. I love the many different facets of the African. I love my sister right now currently lives in Ghana, and I'm working on building a non-for-profit organization in Ghana right now. I have an array of Native African friends who are here. I graduated from Howard University, which is the #1 African-American institution in the country. I am well aware of my history. I am well aware of the impact of every single African culture in the world on my life and on the world. And so at the end of the day, you all have to understand, right? When we talk about understanding why I'm saying the things that I'm saying, even with the language that you all have been using tonight, it has been a bit condescending and belittling, but you don't mean to. And what you have to understand is that as an African American, I have experienced that condescension my entire life. I write my poetry about it. I have conversations in prose about it. I have these types of conversations all the time about it. And what we have to understand is that I would love to have a conversation about people who come from different African cultures outside of the African American culture, being honest about what biases that you believe that you continue to kind of like subconsciously speak within. Because in America, we constantly have to do that. I constantly have to be mindful to not be condescending or offensive towards my Native African brothers and sisters who are not necessarily direct descendants of slavery, right? So it's interesting, this conversation that we're having, because I feel like it's biased. I feel like no one is really hearing me, and that's okay, because the people who must hear me will. But at the end of the day, I am a life coach. Y'all understand? And I am fire upon fire. I coach people how to get to their traumas, heal them, and move forward. And what I will not allow myself to do is to take energy that is not for me. I'm going to send that right back to the energy with which sent it to me. And so that's what you experienced tonight.
Saeed,
yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Saeed.
Yeah, so I mean, let me make a few things clear to one of us tonight. So I'm on this as, you know, as a guest speaker, but at the same time, I'm also, you know, an audience. So I'm actually listening in and hearing everybody and also making my own opinions. I mean,
Saeed, before you continue, do you have any device that you're listening to, or from on the show? Do you have any device that is on that you're listening? Okay, all right, go ahead.
No device in my hand.
No, well, I'm just trying to figure out where it's coming from, but it's better now. So go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So as I was saying, Tieni, I mean, your points and of course references is well noted, and I mean, I totally accept of it and embrace of it. But I think there's a difference between expectations when you communicate, and what I'm hearing more is there's an expectation of how you really want to see a reaction to your, you know, to your input from everyone. And if it's not coming out in that way, I mean, the conclusion is we're not listening. But personally, I mean, I have a lot of, you know, African American friends. I mean, I call them family because, you know, my way of integrating the United States culture is really to listen in and be a part of those people. So I hear you, everything that you're saying, but there has to be a clear line between the expectations of how you expect people to react to what you're saying, and you know, and of course their opinion of what they actually feel. For most of the migrant Africans, again, like myself, the truth is I accept the reality of what has played in the past. I recognize with it, I stand by it. But in my subconsciousness, I'm also concerned about how do we move forward, whereby I can help you to understand more of my culture, and you can also come to a term of understanding that regardless of what has happened in the past, I'm not overruling it, but I'm saying I embrace it, sister. Now let's work hand in hand to advance the course that can benefit us all at the end of the day. Because when you look at America the way it is, there is a reason why we're still having a divide amongst us, because all of this, in my opinion, are strategic distractions to basically deprive us of the synergy we need to pull together to really advance ourselves on the primary things that we need to dominate in anything that we're doing. I mean, people know it. It's said, you know, generally. Individually, we are excellent. We're doing a lot of great strides. But when it comes to cohesiveness, coming together to get stuff, why can we not? So we need to begin to understand our expectations of how people embrace what it is that we're sharing. So we embrace you in 100%. Okay, so please don't feel you know,
Yes,
I know Tieni feels loved because I mean she knows me personally. I mean we know each other and we call each other. She calls me brother. I call her sister. And we've engaged a bit. You know, one of the reasons why I reached out to her is like, look, she does exactly what we are trying to do. You know, trying to see how we can integrate. Look, the conversation has never been professed to be easy. So, but we are
yeah.
we are up for the challenge. There's a caller online. Let's try and take him. I apologize to our audience for the change in background. Is like I said, the heat of tonight is just messed up my system, and I am struggling to produce everything myself. So, please bear with me. Call out, tell us your name and why you're calling.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Sharna. I wanted to first of all say thank you for having the bravery to have this conversation. I think it's very needed. And I wanted to just address the question that you guys had asked. And I feel like a lot that is needed in order to change what is happening in today's society is education. And I'm not talking about theoretic education or historical education. We have to educate Black people for us to understand the value of us being Black. You know, it always dawned on me how we are a superior race, but yet we ourselves feel inferior. You know, even just looking at statistics, in education alone, if we're checking like the colleges that are graduation rate in a college, 69% of university and college graduation rates are Black. Even our skin, the Black skin, the elasticity of it, the fact that we don't start aging, 90% of Blacks don't start aging until age 70. So you can look, we can be 70 and still look like 50. Even our skin, the fact that how it affects differently to the sun ray compared to a white person's skin. If they go out and have that same sun exposure, it affects us differently because of our melanin in our skin. If we talk about our hair, even a lot of times, you know, as Black women, and I'm guilty of it, you know, we perm our hair and we do the additional extensions, but the strength of a 4C hair compared to a blonde hair, you know, the way how it's able to withstand, it's just all of that. It's just education is not what we need. I remember having a discussion with some Black men who wasn't aware of Black Wall Street. They didn't even know it existed, where Wall Street, today's Wall Street, first invented by free slaves. When they decided the white man decided to come and burn it down because we were circulating the money 18 times before it came out. So I just feel like as education, we just need to have historical education, not the books, historical education, so we can appreciate the Blackness within us.
Wow. Thank you so much, Kola. Historical education so we can experience the Blackness in us, which goes to the events that we did last year called the Exchange. We came together to commemorate 400 years in the year of return. We'll talk about that, educating ourselves, educating ourselves about our culture and the things that tie us together. We have another caller coming in. Please bear with me one moment. Caller, can you tell us your name and why you're calling? Hello, caller, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I think, okay, thank you so much for your call. We have another caller coming in. We hope that you stay tuned to the Progressive Minds every Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. for such dialogues as this. We are grateful for your time, and you just made our community a better place by your contribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next caller, please tell us your name and why you're calling.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Yes. Hi, my name is Joanne. So I am truly enjoying the conversation, and I just had a few things I wanted to share.
Okay.
First, I feel like I really enjoyed the last caller's comment, because I feel as a people, we tend to forget where we are and how far we've come.
Right.
You know, I think part of the problem we're having from just listening to the conversation is what brainwashed has done to us. You know, we are all brainwashed at different levels, and we see ourselves from I tend to always say we are black, but we're white. We look black, but we think from a Eurocentric mindset.
Okay.
And they did a great job at convincing us about all of our divisions. And Tierney, I'm a Howard grad, so I had to call. I'm like, oh, that's my alma mater. I hear your passion. I talk like that all the time. People think I'm angry, but I say I'm passionate, you know. But truly, we have to learn to love each other as one people. But we also have to understand that we all have been victimized at a level, at different levels. You know, we all have gone through different experiences that created what we are today. Coming to America at a young age, for example, from Africa, the people that gave me the hardest times were the African Americans, right? Because the impression is we sold them to slavery and we are the problem. And I think about Africa from my perspective and how divided it is today and how broken down it is and how we are barely able to move forward because of the impact of slavery and the impact of colonialism. So I know that a lot has happened and is still happening. I mean, we have the neo-colonialism going on right now. Slavery is still alive and well. You know, people are still being sold as we speak on the continent. So it's not something that happened in the past. It's something that is still happening. And until we realize that the diaspora has the power, we are the only ones that have already been able to experience something different. And we can really be able to help the continent if we can only come together and stop seeing each other as, oh, you're the problem, or I'm the problem, or you speak different, or your culture is more rich or not rich enough. You know, until we're able to get beyond that, we are never going to move forward. And the glory of the slave master would continue to excel. Like the slave master's role, the whole thing, if we understand that we are the seed, we're the beginning of life, we are life itself, the Black race, the Black woman. So we have to be able to look beyond that and say, okay, we can fix the world because it started with us, it would end with us. We can fix everything.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I do appreciate the time.
No, you are so much welcome. Like I said to everybody, you just made our community a better place and you just educated us. I mean, and I really appreciate your contribution. Let's see if we can get another call coming through. Looks like we have another caller. Okay, caller, we missed you, and so please pardon us. If you can call in again, that would help. It's 815-277-5047. Looks like we have the caller coming in again. Please, caller, tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, my name is Akwete Akron. I know my brother SENAALINCO very well now.
My brother, thanks for joining the conversation.
Yeah, just want to tell you that you're doing a wonderful show, and these are things that we definitely need to be talking about as Black people.
Thank you.
Just give me a little bit of my experience before I go into what I want to say. I'm a Ghanaian, born in Ghana. Came here when I was 2.5 years old with my mom and my dad. Lived here for 9 years. Then went back to Ghana for 5 years, from 11 to 16. So that's my formative years where I actually really got to understand who I was as a Ghanaian. So then I also came back again as a 16-year-old, and I've been here since. So I have a different sense of being American, a different sense of being African. I'm currently married to an African American woman. So my kids are both African and African American, but I call them African. I don't see a difference. I think one of the biggest problems that we have is that we see ourselves as different. When we acknowledge the differences between us, then we're always going to see a division between us. We as Black people always want to say, oh, this person is light skinned, this person is dark skinned, this person has nice hair, this person has a straight hair or kinky hair or nappy hair. We always want to differentiate ourselves. But I always tell people that when the white man, and please excuse me for using such language, when the white man sees an African and he sees an African American, all he sees is a nigger. He doesn't see an African. He sees just a Black person and a derogatory Black person, somebody he is superior to. So what I've always said to my friends is that to get our respect, we definitely need to unify. To get our position in this world, we need to be one people. And the only way, in my point of view, that we can do that is if we take it back to the motherland, take it back to Africa, and try to unify Africa. And I always say, listen to me and listen to me careful. If you cannot get respect in Africa, Black man cannot get respect anywhere else in the world. If you can't gain respect in your own house, another man is not going to respect you in his house. We are right now living the white man's world. What we need to do is create our own world and take it back to a place that we own ourselves, which is Africa. If we can focus on being African, being Black, and being Black in our own country, then we can actually start to extend our roots and export our Blackness elsewhere. Every culture tries to be white. We need to start to love ourselves, as our sisters have been saying, recognize ourselves. And one of the things I just want to say this before I end, one of the things that I actually had to correct myself in is my wife is African American, and right now she has dreadlocks. And me growing up as a Ghanaian, dreadlocks is something that is looked down upon, is frowned upon. Of course, the name is dreadlocks, so it's not something that an affluent person or a respectable person should be wearing. So in my mind, dreadlocks is not respectable for anybody. But then I question myself and says, okay, how is it that I have a problem with my wife expressing her hair as an African woman, but I don't have a problem with my wife expressing her hair as a European woman by straight me? That is not love for myself as an African. So I said to my wife, go ahead and rock your dreadlocks over here. You're an African woman and your hair is beautiful. And it doesn't have to be straight to do so. So we also have to realize that we are Black and intrinsically we have greatness in us. And there was a young man on TV, I forgot what his name was, but he does track, I think somewhere in the South. And he said something that was so profound to me. He says, of course I won. I have the blood of an African man running through my veins. I am African and we are born great. That shit shivers down my spine when he says that. And I wish every Black person would understand that they have greatness running through their veins and they were born African and they are great because of that. I think this world will be a better place for African and Black people. Thank you very much.
Well spoken, my brother. Thank you too for helping contribute to this, even in this dialogue. We are very grateful. Selassie Elliot Amekuji just joined us. Mickey Joe is watching us. Mukaila Ayode says, Black never crack. Nikki, let me actually try and see if I can get them on here. Share their screen, share their comments. Janet Coleman Hall says, Deidra is right on point. My brother John says, yes, sister Tuyeni, I agree with you. Addressing the root causes is where we begin. Keisha Freeman is watching us. Royal Black Jesus says, what's up, Alinko? My brother, how are you? Royal Black Jesus. And then Complete Contract Consultant says, it's true that Black history not being taught in schools in the US. That's a point. That's a good point. I remember having to educate a group of Black men that the idea of Wall Street first developed by freed slaves. Okay, so great. A lot of comments coming through and great contributions so far. I want to see, there are some people that are missing. I want to acknowledge them quickly. Mauricina A. Papa says, true. Thank you so much, Mauricina, for joining in. And if I am missing your name, bear with me. Oh, Charles Old School, Safo Charles Old School, my own brother. Thanks for chiming in. Boatin Ashia, Henry Darko, Ajua Dachi is also watching us. Thank you all. Thank you so much for being a partaker of this discussion. Soshi Victorious, Soshi is also watching us. And Prisla EBD Thomas is here, one of our top fans. Please share the feed while you're watching, because then we can you can help in spreading the good word as we have been talking about this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 15 minutes to go. We wanted to take this discussion in different segments, but looks like what we have been dwelling on is very, very important, is the root cause, right? And so spending much time on it is not a problem. We will definitely come back and talk about some of the stereotypes. We haven't even touched on the stereotypes yet. This is just the roots. And so watch out for part 2, part 3 of More Fire. I hope that as we progress, the fire will be cooling down, you know, because the higher you go, the cooler it becomes, right? All right, great. Guys, anybody wants to comment on something before the calls came through, or comment on any of the callers, please let me know before we move to the next thing. I don't want to miss anyone. Anybody has something to say?
Yes, I do. Quick one. I think that the contributions from the people that have called in, you know, the people listening, tells me how important this conversation is. Because when you're sitting in there, you're in the kitchen, sometimes you don't hear everything, honestly. But, you know, they've brought back some of the points, and it tells you that people think this is important, and you need to do this a bit more.
Thank you so much, Kofi. Anybody else wanted to comment before we touch on something else?
Yes.
Yes.
As you can see, we're open for change. We're open for discussion. We're all open to come at a middle point and say, hey, we all can do this together. So as Kofi said before, this discussion is really needed. It's needed across, you know, every diaspora. And we appreciate you doing this so that, you know, people on my side was able to, you know, listen and hear what's going on so they could actually share their points too.
Right.
So yes.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. It's actually an honor that folks, you know, experienced professionals like you all with your busy schedule can understand that this is needed, and then give us 2 hours of your precious time to engage in this dialogue. So I really, really appreciate you guys too. Actually, you and the audience are making this thing very much interesting. So my sincere gratitude to you all. I want it to sound like our closing remarks. It's not our closing remarks. We're just, you know, trying to calm down from all the heat and you know, acknowledging ourselves. I think the callers has really put us into a mood where, you know, the connection is coming. The connection is coming. I mean, it's not like it has not been there, but I, for instance, have been, you know, really educated and informed on a few things, and I'm really grateful to our callers. To anything that you wanted to add to what the callers said, or any comment that I missed?
I am going to maintain my soapbox that the trauma healing is the journey that we must go on. Period.
Trauma healing.
That is truly what has to happen. We can do that trauma healing together. I think it's important. I did a training with Chicago Roar, which is an anti-racist organization, and so they do this thing called caucusing, right? So at one point we're all together, black, white, people of all cultures, we're all together, you know, having conversation. But then there comes a point where we all break off. All the people of color go together, and all the white people go together, and they have particular conversations that you can't really, that a lot of people may not feel comfortable having. I think that caucusing has to happen within our culture. Okay. I think that as a group of black people, we have to get together and have the conversation. And I also think that culturally, we have to be honest about what we think other cultures are missing, and about what is that true or is that not true? Somebody spoke earlier about perspective. It is about perspective, because at the end of the day, everybody, there's two types of truth in the world. There is the individual and personal truth, and then there is the universal truth. The universal truth is that we all come from the same energy, no matter culture, religion, no matter your identity. We all come from the same spiritual energy. And so for me, I am busy trying to figure out how to align most with my universal truth. And I feel like if everybody in the community is working to heal and align with universal truth, then connectedness will happen inevitably. A lot of times,
Tierney, can I interject for a second?
Go ahead.
Do you think that everybody has to go through this? Now, first of all, define what you mean by spiritual journey or spiritual. Can you give us a briefly, okay, a clear definition, and then I'm going to follow up with the next question.
Yeah, so as I said before, I believe that we are all spirits. We are all energy at our core. We are all energy that are encompassing a body. The physics proves that, earth science proves that, metaphysics proves that.
So if you say spiritual, do you say spiritual journey or spiritual?
No, trauma healing, if I may.
Okay, trauma healing.
Okay. Trauma healing is a spiritual journey. So what we have to understand is that trauma is memories being held in the body. So trauma is memories of the past, of traumatic experiences, poor experiences that are still being held in the body on a subconscious and consciously emotional level.
All right, great. So you think that all of us, Black people, regardless of what ethnic group you come from, have to go through this trauma healing spiritual journey situation, right? Okay, all right. That's that. Thanks for sharing. The difficulty here is that the millions of us and everybody, people have different types of beliefs and spirituality and religion.
But that's the thing, though. I'm not talking about religion. There are many paths to the one truth. Many paths. So whatever path the individual wants to take, they can do that. But we need to be taking some type of path, the individual, to our own healing journey so that we can connect and evolve as a people.
Great. So the advice or the recommendation here from Tierney and from some of the discussions we've been engaged in this evening is let's take a moment to have a retrospect as Black people, to connect back to our roots, go through your own spiritual journey, go through your own trauma. Kofi, help me with the word again.
Trauma healing is what I think. Yeah, she said. Yes.
Spiritual journey, trauma healing. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very important. Anybody that goes through a situation, you need to, if it's divorce, if it's accident, there has to be some way of counseling to bring your mind back, because there is this thing called PSTD, which is very, very real.
That's a trauma.
Yeah, and so to your point, Tierney, and to everybody else, Saheed and DEIDRA and KOFI and NATALYA, we both have suffered. My ancestors may have perpetrated in selling Tierney, your NATALYA, DEIDRA, your ancestors here. Okay, I wasn't there, but I'm also a victim of my ancestors' deeds and actions. And so I am bearing that pain, I'm bearing that trauma. And my fellow African American is going through it. My fellow Caribbean brother is going through it. And so we have to all acknowledge that we are all suffering. And as a result of that, we are acting and behaving the way we are now. But hopefully, as we engage in this dialogue, we can, they say a problem discussed is a problem half solved, right? And so hopefully we can go through, and we may not be able to come to Tierney for, we may not all do the spiritual journey or the trauma healing at the same time, but I am sure that as people are listening, it's going to be, the bulb is going to be clicking. I mean, the light bulb is going to go off, and it's like, okay, something I have to pay attention to. So great points. It's about 7 minutes to 8 p.m. We are about to end the discussion this evening. You've been watching us live on the Progressive Minds page on Facebook and YouTube. You can also listen to us right now, if you're already not, on MyStar Radio, which is based out in Washington, D.C. MyStar Radio is a pan-African radio station for the discerning listener. Lots of good music, lots of good vibe. It's 24/7. We are glad to be associated or being carried by this great radio station. And as I said earlier, there's a lot to come. Now, it's 6 minutes, so I'm going to give you all a minute to end us this evening. But I would like to I'll let our audience to understand that it's not too late for you to share. If you haven't yet, please share. And if you missed this, you can go back to the page and watch it, Facebook and YouTube. But make sure you are sharing now so that we can make a big impact. This is just a tip of the iceberg because we had a couple of things to discuss this evening. We haven't touched a lot of it. So we are going to come back when I may not, I won't tell you right now. So that I keep you in anticipation. I can't say it right now. We have other things coming, but this is going to be continued very, very soon. So stay tuned. You want to be doing that on the Progressive Minds page. We will be updating you on when this is coming. But I'll start with, we started with DEIDRA, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to start, we're going to try and end with NATALYA. Give us your closing statement.
Just want to say thank you so much for, having me on your show. And just for me to put, stuff out there and, just to hear what you guys also have to say from an individual standpoint. So just want to say thank you for that. And, it was really a pleasure being on here, and thank you.
Thank you. I have a feeling that all the weapons you came up with, you have not gotten the chance to release them. And so
I have not, because I wanted to get more into roots and, talk about stuff.
That is
just put it on the table. It's not about, saying that I'm better or you're worse or nothing of that nature. It's actually putting your cards on the table, and then we can shuffle through and see where everything is at. It's not really like jumping at each other. It's just putting it on the table, and maybe we can look and connect. And yes, this is where we're connected. It's just like yesterday. I was watching BBC and I was listening to some Africans talk, and when they use the words like de and da, these are words that we use in patois to show you how much we are connected when it comes to even the language that we maintain. So, right. So if Mr. Wagwan or Wagodong are,
Let me show you this. Now that you've mentioned this, I know time is past, but I want to show you this real quick. Let's see if we can share it. I was trying to, because of time, we haven't been able to, but let's see if we can share this right here. Let me see here. Okay, right here. See if we can share this. Now.
Abra boy, hi, and so that bedroom. Don't make her tell you say your mother, your mother. Make her tell you say your mother food sweet. Missy did the amoye in a 6 feet. You know say shatter move.
Okay, so I wanted to show this real quick. The reason why I did that is, now how do I get out of okay, so the reason why I shared this, okay, I know it came out of nowhere, right? But here is why I wanted to do this. Now, Tuyeni and DEIDRA, when you watch just 2 seconds of that, if you didn't listen to the words and heard maybe an African word, or would you have known that was people in Africa? I mean, wouldn't you have just mistaken those guys for maybe folks in Georgia or maybe Atlanta or Chicago or something?
I mean, if you're looking at the imagery, yes. If you didn't have any of the sound or the accents right to detect it, it looks exactly like
it's just
African
like
in any part of the country. Yeah,
exactly. And there are so many things that we wanted to display tonight to indicate the connection. I wanted but because of time we couldn't do it. But when NATALYA said that, I just wanted to show a glimpse of these things. So the connection is there. So when you said hip hop and all of that, we represent hip hop. We copy all of that, all the stuff that you all do here. It's ingrained in us. So we are definitely together. We love each other. We just have been troubled. We have this due to everything that has happened to us, and I just wanted to bring that home. But we're still on the 1 minute closing remarks, and let's get DEIDRA's remark, and then we can go to SAHEED.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to say that SAHEED and KOFI said something very powerful during this discussion, and that is, we embrace you, my sister, in response to Tuyeni. And I think this is something that we we oftentimes miss in this discussion, which is that we have these assumptions, we have these perspectives which disconnect us. But at the end of the day, there are African brothers and sisters, right, as well as African Americans who desire to have this connection and desire to be unified and to bridge the gap. And I think that is probably one of the most powerful things that I've heard during this discussion is we have this assumption that you don't want to be connected, right? That you see us in a certain way, but you're saying we don't. We love you. You're my brother, you're my sister. And I can say from personal experience that I've sought out friendships and relationships with the African community. And I have been embraced as family. And I'd say that is one of the most powerful parts of this healing process, besides doing the individual work. Being unified, right, as a community and finding ways to connect, to share our stories, to exchange our stories, to learn about each other and to love each other. Because the most powerful way that we can overcome this trauma is to love ourselves and to love each other.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, Kofi, and then we'll go to Saeed, and then Tieni will close us. Kofi.
I think that DEIDRA just took a lot of things out of my, she closed it where we all want this to go. Remember the conversation was going to be about the, the history. How did they all start? Why are we here? The stereotyping, to talk about the stereotyping, and then the solution. We haven't been able to cross that bridge, but she just put it in a nutshell. There are perceptions and we need to break them down and start talking to each other. And that's what I have to say.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate that for making that very brief for us. Saeed.
Okay, I'm gonna try to make it as brief as I can. Again, thank you. It's a pleasure meeting with every one of you. And just as we've experienced tonight, it's very clear that this conversation has to be continued. Not accessible by everybody, but definitely, Kofi, you're doing a great job. Alinko, and you've definitely got to pull this forward. So whatever we can do to support you, don't hesitate to reach back. And we'll be glad to make sure this voice is heard. And this broadcast actually goes way beyond just the platform in which it is right now. In addition to that, I'd like to just say, thank you to everybody who dialed in and muted, especially the last set of speakers. But my position basically is this: as Black people, although yes, we need to focus on Africa, we need to respect the fact that certain individuals actually lay their lives to begin to build a foundation that we all now celebrate in the diaspora. We should focus on, improving on Africa, but at the same time, we must strengthen the position and the voice of the African community in the various, host country across the world and even in the United States. Now, I wrote something, as a way forward, which I love to share because it's extremely important as we accept this. We should also be able to pull out the positive energy of what do we need to do to move forward. So my short note, way forward, we need to build compassion and knowledge-based sharing of culture with leaders of various communities. Identify and partner on an annual project/events dear to these various communities. Encourage cross-attendance and engagement at both private and public sector levels of all communities. Develop an engagement leading to economic strength among the youths of these various communities. In summary, we're saying in order for us to move forward as a people, yes, we've identified our history, we've identified our differences. We need to build economic strength, influence, and grassroots communication to sustain this goal. Thank you, Aliko, and bless your soul, brother.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Tieni, please go ahead.
Yes, I want to be clear that at no point do I feel that I am not embraced by the entire Black community. Because I am embraced by this community and because I am very much part of this community, it is also important for me to do the job that I was born to do, which is to speak truth and to eradicate the tilted room of reality that many of us like to live in. At the end of the day, what I believe is I believe that at the core of us, we are all good. At the core of us, we are all light. And at the core of us, we all want to connect. But there are some energies and entities that, due to our lack of spiritual knowledge, attach to us and impact how we go and flow. One of my mentors, her name is the Beast Destroyer. And I asked her to be my mentor for a real reason. There are beasts within our trauma that I seek to destroy. And that's exactly what I will continue to do, and I won't apologize for. What I will say, and I want to say thank you to each and every one of you all who have shared this space with me. I hear your hearts. I hear your desires. I hear your commitment to doing this work. And I also hear you receiving me. And I appreciate that to no end. You have heard from Tuyeni Akonke, the master educator. My goal is to make sure that we all know our true identities so that nobody can shake our foundation in the way that our ancestors' foundation was shaken. And we also understand that we are ancestors' return. So we have the opportunity to rewrite the past right now.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so few comments and we will wrap up. Greetings from Jamaica. Be proud of you. Are too easy. Douglas Williams, thank you so for joining us all the way from Jamaica. Thank you so much. Ate says, hello people, support. Okay, please support my brother Alinko. It takes money to do this show. Please donate. My brother Alinko, please tell us how to help this show financially. Go to I think this is the best comment for this evening. So I'm gonna give him some shout outs. well, that was on the live side, right? But to help the show, go to the Progressive Minds page, which is theprogressivemindshow.com. That's my website, theprogressivemindshow.com. Go ahead and make it's scrolling right now down the screen. And then if you have Cash App, it's the $ SENAALINCO. All right. So you realize that during the show we were having technical problems, right? My back screen has changed from what it was to green. Okay, so you can see that it's a little of a struggle, but the work will keep going on. We are so grateful to you all for contributing. Make sure that if you want to reach out to me, it's 815-409-9123. That's my personal number. My email is info.progressiveminds@gmail.com. But please go on our website now, theprogressivemindshow.com, and make huge fat donations to us. We have a physical sponsor. We have 501c. So whatever you give to us is tax deductible. Let's take a few comments and then we can close this evening. Keisha Freeman says we need a part 2. Definitely, we're going to be engaging in part 2. And then Nikki Adineke says, well said, Saheed. And then Mr. Candy Ghana says, well said, big up. Right. Ashir also joined us. I think I may have missed that. She says, such an informative and educational dialogue. Thank you, Progressive Minds, for your service to your listeners. Ashia, thank you so much for empowering women with your organization, NFP, helping women with domestic violence situation. If you have anyone or anybody needs domestic violence assistance, please go on Empowering Women NFP. They're in Chicago. They do a lot for women. She says, Alinko, I see a spirit of Pan-Africanism here. We must not leave this show without sharing our numbers with each other. We here can help can begin a moment that would inform us on these issues and by extension other blacks around us. I will begin by sharing. Okay, so he's sharing his number 708-336-8241. We can do this. Well, if you feel like sharing your numbers, my guest after the show, you can hang on. We can have a little tete-a-tete, but for now, just hang on a little bit. Thank you so much, guest DEIDRA Coleman, KOFI JACQUAYE from Ghana. DEIDRA Coleman is African-American. KOFI JACQUAYE. Does it even matter? Should I even say all of that? Well, okay, I know what to do. You are African-American. I understand. KOFI JACQUAYE is from Ghana. Tuyeni is African-American mixed with Fulani and Indian, right? Native Indian. And then NATALYA Stephenson is originally from Jamaica, residing in Georgia, United States. SAHEED-O is also originally from Nigeria, but residing in the United States. Well, I live in Chicago. My name is Sana, aka Alinko. My guest, I can't thank you enough for contributing to a wonderful dialogue this evening. We are coming back for sure. Let's stay in touch. Let's keep the momentum going. I'm grateful. My audience, you are the best. Thank you so much for helping, contributing, for sharing your ideas. Please keep sharing the feed, keep the message going, keep the conversation going. It's one love, all right? It's one love. It's one love. Yeah. Remember to whom much. Now we can't leave here by not giving you shout out. Let's give you a shout out to my audience. I guess. Okay. And then this special one goes out to the audience and everyone who called in. On that note, remember to whom much is given, much is required. This has been your host, Sena, aka Alinko, with the Progressive Mind Show. We shall be coming your way again next week, Wednesday, between 6 to 8 p.m. God bless. Be good. Bye-bye.